All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 2. I don't usually drive by myself for 30 minutes on the weekend, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to double up on Fridays so I can still get a video out at least on Saturday. So those of you who watched my first episode, thank you. Appreciate it. If you commented, I think I had one comment. Thank you for your comment. I appreciate that. And I will try to improve the mic situation. My car is loud, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it. I think what I'm going to do next time is just use my AirPods for the ride, because that should cancel out the noise and should be a lot clearer with the mic. So I'll do that. But I don't have them on me today, so I can't. Anyways, it's Friday once again, driving home. Beautiful day. I'm trying to remember where we left off. I think we left off where I was talking about my early childhood growing up and what that was like, and sharing some stories about my grandpa. And what else did I talk about? Ninja Turtles. How I wasn't allowed to play with Ninja Turtles or anything violent for that matter. But you guys probably have a shit ton of stories that are similar or crazier or funnier or weirder, who knows. I'm trying to think. My youth really was just like any witness that has parents that are really involved. And that's the key, right? Like, how involved are your parents? There was the parents in the hall that they weren't that involved, and those kids had it a little bit easier, had a little bit more freedom. I was in that situation where my parents were very involved in being Jehovah's Witnesses and wanted to be like the best Jehovah's Witnesses that they could be. They wanted to be all they could be in the org. A couple other things I remember growing up. I remember the first time I learned that if you do something serious enough, a sin, you have to go report that to the elders. My dad did something, reported to the elders, and I think at the time he was a ministerial servant, so he was like one rung below an elder. And I don't think they made an announcement that Brother Hess is no longer serving as a ministerial servant. So I remember that, and I remember that was like a big deal, man. Like, it was super traumatic. Everybody was crying. When it was announced, there was the gaffes. Oh my God, it was so dramatic, so unnecessary, so ridiculous. Like, part of me wonders how, if you're in charge of that organization, you could like see that over and over again and not be like, what the hell are we doing? This is so odd. Treating people like kids, involving yourself in their lives, you know? Like, even in the world, right? When you see politicians like that confess things like that are like kind of internal family affairs, it's always like, man, like, you don't owe the public an apology just because they viewed you in this way. The real people that you owe an apology to are your family. Like, involving all these other third parties, to me, is just crazy. So that's kind of like how I always thought about it, even as a kid. It was confusing. What do I remember else from being a youth? I remember loving sports. I couldn't get enough sports. Like, I didn't care that I had to play most of the time with kids from the Kingdom Hall, or people that were even older than me from the Kingdom Hall. I was allowed to play with them, but I couldn't get enough of that. So anytime there was some kind of like park, what do they call them, gatherings, we're gonna have stupid. I wouldn't have traded that though for like not being able to play in high school or intramurally or even like little league growing up. Like I would have much rather played where it kind of counted, where there was like somebody keeping score and officials and stuff like that, you know. But nonetheless, it was fun. The sports were my life. I was a big Jordan fan. I remember praying to Jehovah that the Chicago Bulls would win the NBA Finals. That's, you motherfucker. See? These fuckers, you gotta watch them. Try to get over, they'll start cutting you off. Hey. I hate how people go so slow and then they camp out in the fast lane when they're not passing anybody. Now everything's fucked up. We got a bus in the fast lane. What the hell did you even get over there for? What are you doing? And now you can't get over? You big dummy. Big dummies everywhere. There you go. Freaking moron. Does anybody remember the pressure regarding baptism? Because that was a big thing. I remember when I got to be like 10, 11, that's what always came up, maybe even earlier. Before that, it was like, when are you going to join the school? When are you going to become an unbaptized publisher? Then it's, when are you going to get baptized? So all these steps you have to take, all these arbitrary things that you have to do. I got a funny story though when it comes to getting baptized. So I got baptized in 1996, and it was a snowy day. Some of you may remember the Assembly Hall, Buckingham Assembly Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses in PA. So we had to make the journey there. We were probably like 45 minutes from there. And it was snowing, like, I mean, coming down. It was coming down so bad that I think it took like 2 hours to get there. And then when we finally got there, it was empty. But I did my thing. I went and I sat down front, all the way down front, in the first like couple rows where they marked off for the baptismal candidates. And nobody was there. Like, it was completely empty behind me. And then by the time that we stood up to sing the first song, it had filled in, and I was like, all right, there's people here. And I remember back then when we used to get baptized, there'd be like a line of people getting baptized. I mean, I left in 2014, and I remember that baptismal line. It was ever shrinking, always smaller. I mean, I remember the line being long enough that I had to wait like 30 minutes at least before it was my turn, probably. I was like one of the last people to go. I was 13, something like that, 13, 14, somewhere in that age range. And I was so uncomfortable in the changing room, like taking all my clothes off and putting on my bathing suit. So instead, I left my tighty whities on, put my bathing suit over them. Obviously they get wet, and then when I'm done, also I kicked my foot up, so they had to dunk me twice. I remember everybody like making a big deal about that. His foot came up, you gotta redunk him. And they had to redunk me because my whole body hadn't actually submersed at the same time, so it didn't count. They actually had somebody watching, like officially watching, and they took that shit serious. And anyway, I was scared to like take my underwear off again, so I kept them on. And like I said, it was a blizzard that day. It was snowing. It was cold. I still went outside to play in the snow. Like, I remember we were throwing snowballs around, and I remember my underwear just being so cold. I sat there the whole rest of the afternoon in wet tighty whities, and the water like seeping through to my suit pants, trying to hide that. Nobody knew though. Nobody knew. Also, they had ice cream at the Buckingham Assembly Hall back then. Like legit an ice cream parlor. I mean, it was probably mostly soft serve, but I don't care. That was good. And you didn't have to pack a lunch. They had food. You could get as many of those Danishes as you wanted if you had the right hookups. It was so much better back in the day. Like, they really, like, made it more enticing to come. If they were smart, they would bring some of that back, but they can't afford it because they broke. They're so broke. Anyway, so I get baptized, and yeah, now I really can't play sports. Now I'm a baptized witness, and I got to set a good example. In any case, I was good at basketball. Like, not to, like, brag, but I was legit. I still am a pretty good shooter. I don't play as much, so I don't have the athletic prowess that I once had, and I'm not as young as I once was, that's for sure. But yeah, I can still shoot. Still a really good shot. My stats, I got stats to back it up too. Anyway, I digress. So I remember the coaches and stuff, kids calling my parents, reaching out to my parents. Had a couple kids stop by the house to see if I would play, and my parents would not sign that form. Thinking back, I think I would have just signed the form on my own, like forged their signature. So that's my recommendation. I don't think they're as strict with that anymore. I think they're a little bit more lenient. Hopefully they are. Hopefully more parents are, like, willing to let their kids play basketball or play a sport for the school team. But my parents did not. And then they had the circuit overseer over, and they're telling them how, like, yeah, Josh keeps getting asked to play sports, but he keeps standing up for the truth. He keeps standing up for Jehovah. And it wasn't really me. It was like, you guys have put me in a situation where I can be rebellious and be like, I don't like this, but that's not going to go well. Or I could just be like, yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So that's the route I went. Like I said, if I had to give advice to my younger self, I would totally tell myself to rebel and to sign that shit myself, and at least get, like, maybe a few scrimmages and practices under my belt, maybe even a game where they show my box score in the paper the next day. I used to check the newspaper because they did allow me to get a paper out, so I would check the newspaper to see how well the other kids on the team did that I played with in gym class and occasionally, like, outside of school if I had a chance to break away from my parents. But going back to that circuit overseer, so this guy goes, oh, this is great, and he ends up like, do you want to do an interview on the circuit assembly? And of course my parents are ecstatic. That was the whole point. They told him that whole thing, and I of course I had to agree to it, but in my head I'm like, this is nonsense. Like, I felt like such a fraud up there because I knew what I really wanted to do, but I also knew what everybody wanted to hear. That was the difficult part. Anyway, like, you start getting parts on the program, like, it's like you become like a celebrity within that community. Everybody wants to be your friend. Like, you're going out to dinner, and that's fun and all. Like, I'm not knocking it. It was fun. Again, still would have rather played basketball for the high school. And now all of a sudden people are you going to go to Bethel? Are you going to pioneer? So then that becomes a focus, right? You're an exemplary youth. Exemplary youth. You get used for the mics and the sound and being an attendant, parts on the meetings, parts on the program. So by 17, they had asked me, I was still in high school. It was like the last couple months of high school. They asked me, do you want to be a ministerial servant? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess. And I became a ministerial servant while I was still in high school. Now, all right, one of the things that helped wake me up was I knew all the shit I was doing, like, in secret. I knew about, like, my double life that I had, and I knew that everybody had this view of me, but it wasn't, like I said, I felt like a fraud a lot of the times. So like I love sports. I loved girls. Like I was super into girls. And I was into tech. So like computers and stuff were starting to first become popular. So I was into those video games. I was like a normal kid. Anything violent like Terminator or Batman or like any action hero movie or shoot up movie, like I was into that. But again, I had to do all that stuff in secret. Like I had to keep presenting this facade that I was some kind of like super spiritual youth that only like read the Watchtower and Watchtower and Awake magazines and prepared parts. And it's hard to run that double life for year after year after year. It gets exhausting. But yeah, like I'm looking at porn with some of the kids in the Kingdom Hall, with kids in school, and they're asking me to like do parts on pornography and how I resist the temptation. My mom, oh God, oh, it's so uncomfortable. She used to have a study with me weekly. My dad would study the Watchtower with us, but he was like too busy to like study like a one-on-one with me. So my mom took that up, and she would wear a hat. Once I got baptized, she would put a hat on. I don't think she did it before I got baptized. And it wasn't always a hat. Sometimes it'd be like a stupid looking scarf. And we're in our own house. Like nobody's like checking to make, she's doing that. Like I have to put a scarf on, and she would make me open and close with prayer. But then she would conduct the Bible study. It was so funny, man. And it would be like the young people ask questions. What was it? Young people ask answers at work or something. It was like a blue book. And there was like 2 chapters on masturbation. She's like, do you know what masturbation is? And I'm like, no, what's that? Of course, I'm 13 years old. Like masturbation's my life. Like you just have no idea. And then like other uncomfortable things about dating and stuff like that. It was the worst. And I realized early on that, hey, if I actually answer with any bit of honesty or I'm any like defiant in any way, this study is going to go on and on and on until like I'm on the same page as her. So it was already too long to go through that, like over an hour. So I would just be as agreeable as possible. But even then, like your annoyance with that would come through, and my mom would notice it at times, and then it would. I was always getting in arguments with my mom. My dad wasn't around as much because he was usually working during the day, and my mom only worked part-time. So I was usually going at it with her, and she was just a more annoying personality. My dad was a little bit more laid back. He was still over the top, though. So yeah, so like I'm doing that, and then I'm like, there's girls in school that I'm interested in, and I'm not getting too involved with them, but I'm definitely like flirting, and I'm definitely like dancing around it. I'm definitely interested, and I definitely would have done more, given more opportunities. But yeah, I was actually super sad when I graduated high school. A lot of the kids that I went to school with probably don't know this. I think I told some of them at the 20-year reunion that we had, and they didn't. I don't think they knew like how much their friendship and association meant to me. School was like that outlet where I felt free for 6-7 hours, where I could be me. I did get in trouble all the time. Like, I was mischievous and silly and always cracking jokes like a class clown. So I was always getting in trouble. I got in a couple fights, nothing serious, but yeah, I love school. I mean, I do like learning, and if you have a good teacher, that makes it a lot easier. But it was more just the social aspect of school and being around people that were different than me, that had different views than me. And I would get into debates with them sometimes. Like we'd get into arguments and debates on biblical interpretations and how we interpreted something. And I remember this kid Brad, I used to always get in, like, talk religion with him and a few other people. Oh man, I see some of their now that I'm not like a religious person, so to speak, like I see some of their profiles now, and they're still super hardcore into it, which I'm always like, man, it's not that different. Like, it's different, but it's not that different than how involved like I remember my parents being. Anyway, so now I'm like out of high school, and college was like really discouraged. My parents especially discouraged it, and at the time the organization was too. My real focus at the time was like, how do I get enough money so that I can get married and get a wife, because I want to have sex. Like that was, and I wanted to have fun too. Like I wanted to have friends, I wanted to have freedom, but I wanted a relationship big time. So that first year was interesting. I think my first year out of high school, I did regular Pioneer, and I actually went, so I'm a ministerial servant, I'm a regular Pioneer, feeling guilty about beating my meat every day and watching porn, but it is what it is. Like I'm going to Pioneer school. I meet a bunch of new friends at the Pioneer school, and they were cool people. Like I had fun with them. And one in particular, Evan, like I got close with him and started hanging out with him more, and my mom was not happy because they came in, I want to say a little bit after my parents, in the 80s, early 80s maybe. I'm not even sure. Evan, they may have came in after Evan was born. He was like a little bit younger than me, not by much. Anyway, I'm friends with this knucklehead, and his family was like one of the cooler families in the area. They weren't in our hall, but they were one of the. Sorry, there's traffic. People are crazy. They were one of the cooler families. So like, I really enjoyed hanging out with them. Like I would go there and hang out. And my mom, she was still super strict. I'm like 18 or 19, and she's giving me like an 11 o'clock curfew, and I'm breaking it all the time. So she'd lock me out of the house, so I'd end up staying at Evan's house, his parents' house. And then she'd call there at like 3 in the morning looking for me. Oh my God, it was so funny. And we're getting drunk, like I mean drunk, like shit-faced drunk. All the time, like all the time, like always getting a buzz. But it was fun, man. Like we were doing what like kids do at that age, whether you're a Jehovah's Witness or not. Like my parents wanted to believe that like Jehovah's Witness kids are different than non-Jehovah's Witness kids, but the reality is that's not the case. Like we do the same shit, most of us. At least we dabble. On the road. My wife is texting me. She's probably wondering, where are you? You promised you were going to come home early. I'm coming home early. Oh boy. Hey boy. That sucks. I'm not going to get there in time. Yeah, so I pioneered that first year. I can't remember. I was working part-time, so I did have a little bit of money. My grandma gave me a car, which was helpful, but I handled all my own bills, and then I was paying my mom and dad like $200 or $300 a month to live at home with an 11 p.m. curfew. That was great. Awesome. So eventually I was like, I got to figure out a way out. So I started to go to college, and then I started to work full-time so I could pay for college. But I also was working full-time because I wanted to make more money so I could have money for things, and I wanted to get my own place. So that's when it really starts to get interesting, because I get involved with somebody that was married in the Kingdom Hall, and yeah, that was a couple years older than me, I end up getting publicly reproved. That person gets disfellowshipped. And then for probably like a year and a half, we have like a secret relationship that nobody knows about, because we felt like we were going to end up together. Like that was our plan. But if the elders knew that was our plan, it was going to be a lot harder, which it was already hard for her to get reinstated. Because, and she got disfellowship because she was clear that she was not going to stay with her husband at the time, that she was going to get a divorce, which she ended up doing. And then I want to say it was at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years she was disfellowshipped. It was long. And she went to every meeting during that time period. Like, I mean, everyone. And it's applied multiple times to reinstatement, and they just kept rejecting her. Meanwhile, like, I ended up moving out of my parents' house, getting my own place. And I was reproved, but all that meant was like I didn't have to do the mics anymore, or create the schedules, or do all these parts on the service meeting and theocratic school. So like, in my opinion, like, that's not even a punishment. Like, nobody even, like, everybody was just sad for me and was like, oh, she's such a horrible person, how can she do this? Like, so I there was a measure of guilt. I felt like I'm just as guilty in whatever we did as she is. Like, so why does it seem so much more extreme? I mean, I knew why from their perspective, but I mean, it was just ridiculous to me. So anyway, she ends up finally getting reinstated, and at that point, she's divorced, she's reinstated, she can talk to people now, but we still were kind of like hesitant to, like, even her family, they didn't know that, like, we were, the only person in her family that knew was her aunt, who wasn't a witness, and I don't think her aunt ever said anything to her mom, so her family had no idea. But what we ended up doing is, my brother and her younger brother, so my younger brother and her younger brother, each found out about, like, this gathering at somebody's house that we both knew. I don't even think they knew that each other were going to be there. They just both happened to be invited to the same thing. And her younger brother invited her, and my younger brother invited me, which we found out about because we were communicating, but nobody else knew. And we just blew it off as, like, just a coincidence. And then that's kind of like what we used to act like, well, yeah, we hadn't been in contact that whole time, even though we were in contact like every day. And now, like, why not, like, pursue something if there's still something there, or something like along those lines. And that's what we did, and pretty much everybody hopped on board. The congregations, like, were a little hesitant. Some of my family members were, of course, but at the end of the day, they all ended up supporting us and coming to the wedding, the small little wedding, because we couldn't have it in the Kingdom Hall. We were like marked in a way that, like, we weren't qualified to have it in the Kingdom Hall, because you gotta really be clean and have a clean courtship. So yeah, so we were married for like 8 years. I became a ministerial servant again. I think she was regular pioneering for a lot of it. And then I would auxiliary from time to time. We had the circuit overseer and his wife living with us. Like, once again, top of the world in JW land. Like, we were at the top again. But I'm going to stop there for now, because I'm about to pull in. My wife is waiting for me. I'll get into more about the one that I was referring to that I got married to, because I'm not with her anymore. My current wife and the love of my life, who's never been a Jehovah's Witness. She's waiting for me. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. I hope you find this interesting. If you got any questions, you want to leave a comment, please do so. You want to like, you want to, I don't know, is there an unlike button? If you want to unlike it, I don't even care. Like, it's kind of funny. They should add that if they don't have that. But have a great weekend. Take care. I'll see you at the next episode.